Hey guys, Sarah from Sweet Scents from the Dollhouse. If you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome. Usually I say subscribe. Today I'm not going to say that. This is going to be a long video and a tough one. Really hard for some people to hear. So I will totally understand if you don't subscribe. To my returning waxies, as always, welcome back. And I know usually I do subscriber's choice for most requested Monday, and I have several requests, so I promise I will get to all of them. I've just been a little bit behind. So one of the most common questions I get is why I don't participate in any other form of social media other than YouTube. I do have a Facebook account. I haven't been on that since probably late November, early December 2017, and I have an Instagram account that I don't think I've posted on since, oh goodness, probably almost 2 years. Like, it's crazy. The reason I avoid social media is because I'm allergic to stupidity. Like, bona fide allergic. And after this video, you'll understand why. Because I get so worked up about stupid people. YouTube is my chosen social media outlet because I can watch the video. Sometimes there's drama and stupidity in the comment section below. High five, now on this channel. But I can watch the video because YouTube creators are supposed to be responsible about what they say, the content they produce, so on and so forth. One YouTube creator that I was subscribed to, no longer subscribed to, and her subscriber count is dropping. It used to be well over 800, and last time I checked, now she's sitting at something like 750-ish, because she's letting her bigotry and ignorance slip out on the internet. The first time, and 9 out of 10 times, I'm listening to YouTube working in the shop. I'm normally not actually watching it, and I just autoplay whatever my suggested list is. So it's Sashisms, it's Southern Comfort, it's whatever, it's Canadian Kim, it's whoever. And in comes this person's videos. And she does more daily vlogs than she does wax hauls anymore. But I used to like her channel because she features a lot of like wax vendors that I've never even heard about. So that's why I originally subscribed to her channel. I'm not much into the daily vlog thing, but anyhow, one of her videos was playing while I was working in my shop, and she made some comment. I wish I could quote it exactly, but I can't find the video. Something to the effect of, she's tired of the American people bitching and complaining about Trump, whether you voted for him or you didn't. If you call yourself a proud American, you need to stand behind your president. I was like, oh shit. She's not a stupid conservative, is she? And I'm not calling all conservatives stupid. I know a lot of very intelligent conservatives. But usually the stupid conservatives are usually bigots and just downright assholes. I'm like, oh no. Please. It left just a bad taste in my mouth because I know a lot of amazing, intelligent, proud Americans who don't agree with everything the president says and does. I wanted to jump on and take a poll. How many American people agree with the fact that Trump kidnapped 2,200, something like that, children, and put them in kid boot camp as part of his crackdown on immigration? He likes to blame it on, this is something left over from the Obama administration. Bullshit. I never once saw Obama rip a baby out of its mother's arms. Never once. Did you see the cover of Time magazine? Heart-wrenching. So I know the Americans I know don't agree with that shit. Are they any less proud Americans? No. Fuck no. And I'm like, let it slide, Sarah. It's not your business. Just let it slide. But the problem with that is once someone starts talking about that and getting away with it, they get a little bit braver. So her 4th of July video, whoo! Oh, man. I want to do a little bit of a social experiment with you. I'm not going to take a poll. I want to do a social experiment. And if you're really brave, you will hear me out. Sometimes the truth is a jagged little pill to swallow, and that's okay. But if you are open-minded, you will watch this video in its entirety and think. Maybe you're not American, but think about your country, about your ideologies. And if you're super brave, you will participate in this little social experiment. And this is how it's going to go. In the comment section below, you don't need to watch me, I'm going to keep talking, but I will do it with you on this blank sheet of paper. Write the word, or you guys will type the word education, and give me 3 words or less to describe education in your country. Because I think education is really important because, you know, you want your future leaders, the future leaders of your country, to be educated. 3 words or less. Don't tell me what country you're from. Then I want you to type healthcare. In 3 words or less, describe healthcare in your country. Healthcare is important, right? You want your citizens to be super healthy. Then I would like you to type human rights. And don't tell me what country you're from. But in 3 words or less, describe human rights in your country. Okay, I'm doing it with you. Now, simple yes or no. Simple. Do you live in the greatest country in the world? Or the best country in the world? Yes or no. Don't tell me what country you're from. And last but not least, are you free? Now, if you're brave enough to participate in this, commit to your answers because I do not want you to edit your comment section. Okay? And now hear me out. So in her 4th of July video, she starts off by saying, Happy 4th of July to everyone. That's great. Celebratory, right? And in the same sentence, she says, and to any American who doesn't like this country or complains about being oppressed, if you don't like it, leave. Wouldn't surprise me in the least if the N-word is the next thing on her channel, okay? There are several degrees to racism. You call a white person a racist, they get their panties in a knot. They do, because a white person envisions a hood and nooses and burning crosses, right? No. There's modern day racism. Racism still exists today. So while you're not Jim Crow, but you can still be a racist when you say dumbass shit like, if you don't like being oppressed, if you don't like this country, leave. There's a big problem with white people saying that. Because who do you think she's talking to? Do you think she's talking to white people? No. She's talking to blacks and minorities. And what gives this bitch any more right to be in the United States of America then my black friends, then my Mexican friends, then my Jewish friends who were born and raised there have every right to be there. Just as much right as this bitch. You don't like it here, leave. There's a huge problem when white people say racist shit like that. And for her to say it on a platform such as YouTube, I don't care if you have an audience of 2 people, 700 people, 10,000 people. When you stand on your milk box and spew ignorance and hate, that's what it is. It's modern day racism. You might be just confirming somebody else's ignorance. And that's not what America needs. That's not what any country needs. I think people like that should get in a ship and go to the fucking Mars. Because I wouldn't wish that on any country. That ass backwards ideology, biggest country, greatest country, best country in the world. If you don't like it here, leave, is what is wrong with America. Okay? So, she says freest country in the world. I'm confused by that. What do you mean? Out of 195 countries, 88 of them are free. Andorra, Australia, Austria, Bahamas, Barbados, Belgium, Belize, Botswana, Brazil, Bulgaria, Canada. I'm only at C. There's 77 other free countries in the world, including the United States. So what makes the United States the freest country in the world? It doesn't make sense. And what the hell does she mean by best country in the world? So that, Well, America does make up for 80% of the world's population. So perhaps she's talking about economic freedom. Maybe that's what she means. I looked up the United States of America economic freedom score, and sit with me tight, okay? Because I know sometimes it's a jagged little pill to swallow. But the United States of America came in 18th in economic freedom score. They came in 24th in literacy, 37th in healthcare, 178th in infant mortality, 43 in life expectancy. And in global ranking, like when people talk biggest, bestest, yeah, America, greatest. I want to know by whose standards and by what metric. I believe it's the University of Pennsylvania polls, like along with other organizations. They run a survey every year. They survey elitists, and by elitists, they're not saying, you have to make $10 million a year to be able to participate in this survey. Elitist is just a citizen with university educated, college educated, and they ask them about 75 different categories for every country. They grade every country in 75 different categories by a metric. True, cold, hard facts. The United States of America was the 5th greatest country in the world while Obama was in his last year. When President Trump was elected, the United States of America fell to the 7th spot in global ranking, and right now, 2018, and I'm not throwing shade, I'm just saying facts, the United States of America is the 8th best country in the world right now. That's okay. That is okay. I live in Canada, and Canada is not the best country in the world. I'm okay with that. Canada, in global ranking, is the 2nd best country in the world. Switzerland. If anybody is watching this from Switzerland, and you answered, yes, I live in the best country in the world, high five to you. I'm okay that Canada is not the best country in the world. Because you know what happens when people adapt to that or run with that ideology without proof, without merit, without metric? They stand still. You become stagnant. because you already think you're the best. So why would you change? By all of those statistics, the United States of America doesn't seem like it's the best. But if you adapt the ideology, I am number one, how are you ever going to improve any of the things that I just listed? Because you're already number one. So why would you fix those things? And when you say ignorant shit and white people, and okay, I can say this. My dad is Cree, my mom is white. So I'm straight down the middle. I see both sides. I have seen ignorance on both accounts. Racism isn't a one-way thing. But when white people say, if you don't like it here, leave, what gives that white person more right than anybody else to be here? Last I checked, the white ancestors voluntarily came over here to rape, pillage, enslave us, kidnap kids. Yeah, I'm talking about Canadian residential schools. They kidnapped Native children, forced them into residential schools where they beat them if they spoke in their native language, sexually abused them. The Catholic Church did heinous things to those Native Canadians. That's a white Christian thing to do. Before white people say ignorant ass shit, like if you don't like being oppressed, there's 194 other countries to choose from. And she even posted this on Twitter with a picture of her fat little emoticon riding a rocket. Like she is proud. She is proud. She didn't just say it on YouTube. She posted it on Twitter. And all of her little followers, who I'm sure are all just as ignorant and unintelligent as she is giving her likes and thumbs up and reiterating that racism is okay. Racism is what is wrong in America right now. Hello, Black Lives Matter movement. Hello, Charlottesville. That is what is wrong. When white people say ass backwards ignorant shit, let's keep in mind the blacks and minorities that are here. Let's say black people, for instance. Did they come here voluntarily? Did black people rape, pillage, beat, enslave the natives? No. No, they too were kidnapped and forced here. Forced into slavery as well. That's a white Christian thing to do, not a black thing. So they didn't come here voluntarily. They don't choose to be oppressed. And if you say, oh, slavery happened 1,000,000 years ago, why are you talking about it now? Slavery still exists. Don't be so ignorant. Get off your soapbox, sit down and read a book. Slavery still exists. Slavery existed in the United States of America until 1960. Do you know why? Because black people prayed every single day to be free of slavery. And once it was announced and they were free to go, where the fuck were they supposed to go? They don't have any family. They don't have any money. They have nowhere to live. A lot of them stayed exactly where they were just because they had nowhere else to go. Sure, no longer had to call him master. Now it was just mister. Do you think they got paid? No, they were told, get back out in the fields and enjoy your free room and board in your shack. Slavery still exists today. You know why? Because there were black people that said, fuck this, I don't care, I am done with this, I don't care if I have nowhere to go, I don't care if I have no family, I'm out. And they walked. They tried to congregate together and figure it out. What are we going to do to make money? What are we going to do to build homes? You know, the American government goes, oh, look at them, they're all in a group over there. What are we going to do about that, President? Fuck it, incarcerate them, round them all up and throw them in jail. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? Blacks, Hispanics, minorities make up for 69% of the incarcerated in the United States of America. And you know what America is number one in? Incarcerated citizens per capita. So the American government says, fuck it, round them up and incarcerate them. But Mr. President, they didn't do anything wrong. Who cares? Just get rid of them before they become a problem. You don't think that that's not happening in America right now? So when some ignorant white pig choking on her privilege says something so arrogant as, if you don't like being oppressed, there's 194 other countries to choose from, leave? It gets my blood boiling. It gets my blood boiling. Italian blacks and minorities, if you don't like being falsely accused of crimes, if you don't like getting beat down by cops, if you don't like sitting in jail, leave? I was steamed. I was steamed. And she's preaching this hate on YouTube. She's reiterating other ignorant fucks' ideologies on YouTube. Disgusting. YouTube creators need to be responsible for the content they produce. The United States of America is not perfect. It's not the best country in the world. That's okay. That's okay. But as long as you have ignorant, dumbass conservatives running around, greatest, best, America. It's not good. It's stagnant. It keeps you where you are, and you're not going to get any better with that mentality. So I think, of course, Sarah, don't call her out for being a racist, because white people don't like being called racist, even though some of them are. They don't like being called racist. So ask her about something that she can relate to, because of course some asshole choking on white privilege can never relate to the oppression of blacks and minorities. Ask her about something that her president is doing that she can relate to. Didn't ask her about the 2,200 South American kids in that camp. I didn't ask her about that. Instead, I asked her how she felt about President Trump's threat to the American women's reproductive freedom. America, and it can't just solely be blamed on Trump. I've been watching the trigger and trap laws down there forever. If you ever have a chance, watch the documentary Jackson. That shit was happening in 2014, long before Trump came into power. Watch that documentary. Fierce, intelligent, fearless black woman at the head of an abortion crisis in Mississippi. Also, ridiculously intelligent, strong, super brave, sexy black man as the doctor. Just absolutely heartbreaking what's going on down there and what they're having to fight for women in Mississippi. So this has been going on long before the Trump administration, but the United States of America is as close as it's ever been to crushing Roe versus Wade. And I asked her how she felt about that. She can't have babies, and no shade for that. Like, my heart goes out to her. But she does talk fondly about her sister and her nieces all the time. So I thought this would be something that she could relate to. Ask her about something her government is doing that she can relate to. Kill it with kindness, Sarah. So I ask her how she feels. She has no idea what I'm talking about. No idea. So in the comment section, if you see that video, you'll see that I broke it down for her about how, Anthony Kennedy announced his retirement and President Trump is playing chess with the Supreme Court, much like he said he would in his 2016 presidential debate. He said that he was going to abolish abortion, and now he is doing it. I asked her how she felt about that. She had no idea what I was talking about. She has no idea who is in the Supreme Court and who has power over women's reproductive freedoms. I think if I was an American, I would want to know. I would want to know the panel of people who have that control over my freedoms. No, right over her head. Instead, she comes back with some asshat comment about, fucking Neanderthal. All I'm saying is that I'm really happy I don't live in a country where they can drag me out into a public arena and shoot me with aircraft machinery. Death penalty. You want to go there? Okay, let's do this. Out of 195 countries, 57 of them still practice the death penalty. The United States of America is the only one out of the G7 countries that still have that barbaric practice. Everyone else in the free world has said, that shit's archaic. Plus, criminologists tell us that it doesn't deter people from committing heinous crimes. Hello, look at the United States crime rate, which is also probably pretty close up to the #1 spot. I'm not sure. I didn't research that. But you have the death penalty, and you still have people committing heinous crimes every day. The justice system is something I should have asked about in our little social experiment. The justice system down there is heinous. And for as long as racism exists, as long as this new age racism exists, and white people, don't get your panties in a knot when I say this, but I don't know how many white people I have heard say the words, I'm not racist, I have a black friend. I'm not racist. But black people all look the same. That shit is racist. That is insensitive, and it's racist. And as long as the American government is still relying heavily on eyewitness testimony of a bunch of white people identifying black people or people of minorities, white people have adapted this ignorant ideology that all minorities and blacks look the same. So of course you're going to have tons of innocent people incarcerated. As long as the American government goes down to severely poor areas and waves around $20,000 to $30,000 of reward money for eyewitness testimony, you are going to have innocent black and minorities incarcerated and perhaps put to death. How many black people have been put to death, then found innocent, and the American government's like, sorry. Clearly, it's a seriously broken system. You want to get into the death penalty. I'm a Canadian. We don't have the death penalty here. But if I had my choice, if I committed a crime and I had to take a sentence in Iran where they would drag me out into a public arena immediately after the crime happened and shoot me with aircraft machinery, I would take that over a death sentence in the United States any day. And please, hear me out. In Iran, it's instant. There is no human suffering. In the United States of America, they would incarcerate me for 12 to 25 years. They would continue to drain the deficit every time I ate a meal and shit in a toilet. It would cost the American taxpayers dollars, hard-working Americans, for me to sit and rot in solitary confinement for 25, 30 years. Before they then strap me to a table, and it is public, it's televised, there's a room full of people. Did you know that the UK used to sell the United States of America the drug that they used for lethal injection? The United Kingdom found out what they were using it for and said, we're not selling you that. We're not sending it anymore because we don't agree with that. We don't agree that you do that to people, humans down there. So we're not sending you that drug. Right now, the death penalty is experimental. They are killing blacks and minorities with experimental drugs. So yes, I would take instantaneous death versus rotting in solitary confinement for 12 to 30 years, being strapped to a table in a public arena, being injected with a cocktail of God knows what, and struggling to breathe for 40 minutes. I would take a death sentence in Iran. 150%. Excuse me. And please don't be mad that I say this, but I'm just giving you facts. Facts and honest to goodness truth. Then she makes some ignorant ass statement again, not only about the aircraft machinery in the Middle East. She then says, and I'm just happy I live in a country where they won't cut off my clit. Again, ass backwards racism. Ass backwards racism. You want to talk about FGM? Female genitalia? Mutilation? You want to go there? Clit cutting, as you so ignorantly put it, that is not what it is. Yes, they can take off the clitoris, but usually they take off the entire external part of the female reproductive system. You have no idea the damage that they cause. Certain cultures cut and sew, causing those women to leak urine for the rest of their lives unless they have surgery to fix it, which usually doesn't happen in those countries. And let me tell you, this is not happening because of countries and governments. It happens in 29 different countries across Africa, and I know I'll have to explain that to her because guaranteed the ignorant bitch thinks Africa is a country. It's a continent. 29 countries across Africa, the Middle East, and into Asia practice FGM. As well as, it is not a government practice. It has been closely tied to the religions of Muslims, Christians, as well as Ethiopian Jews. But all three of those religious faiths have said it's nowhere in the Bible. So it's a social practice. And because those Muslims, Christians, and Ethiopian Jews have migrated from that area of the world, 30 million Germans are at risk of FGM today, right now, in Germany. Which I don't know the exact statistics, but I'm going to say probably double that over here in North America, right in your backyard, right in my backyard. She wants to talk about FGM? Get off your soapbox, sit down, and read a book before you preach that shit. And it's so ignorant, and it's racist when you start off by saying, Happy 4th of July to everyone. But blacks and minorities, if you don't like being beat down by cops, incarcerated and not given the right to a fair and speedy trial, not allowed to have half-ass legal representation, if you don't like sitting in our jails and rotting while the government makes money off of you, then go back to those countries. Perhaps those people from Asia, the Middle East, and different countries in the continent of Africa migrated over here to get away from cultural practices like FGM, and you ignorant, busted Miss Piggy want to tell them, if you don't like being oppressed in America, go back there and get your clit cut off? Turn your YouTube channel off, delete, because I know the ignorance is going to continue. Get on a rocket and go to the fucking moon, because nobody in this world needs that kind of mentality. That is exactly what is keeping the United States of America in number 8 spot, is that kind of mentality. And I'm sorry if that is harsh, but it is true. And it is not limited to just the United States of America. I bet if you're listening to this and you have heard me out this far, you know that your country is not perfect. So back to the social experiment. Again, don't edit your original comments. I'm going to tell you what I wrote on my paper. For education, I said equal for all. I believe Canada ranked like 3rd for education in global rankings, metrics, studies, research. I think Canada ranks number 3 in the world, but I wrote equal for all because it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter rich, poor, whatever. Here in Canada, everybody gets the exact same education. For healthcare, I wrote equal for all. Is it perfect? No. Are there waiting lines? Waiting lists? Yes. But socialized medicine, universal healthcare is not as evil as you have been told. It's not as evil as you think it is. I have the freedom to choose whichever doctor I go to. If I don't like what that doctor says, I have the freedom to ask for a second opinion for free. I also know firsthand, Ella's dad is a surgeon. Our doctors are not poor. Trust me, he's an eye surgeon. Far from poor. We have very good healthcare up here, but in universal rankings, Canada came 30. Number 30. US came 37th. So I look to Trudeau and go, what the fuck? That's not good. I'm okay with not being number 1, but being number 30 is not okay when Canada has universal health care. That's not okay. Human rights. I wrote, sorry's not enough. Canada is known worldwide for being polite and for saying we are sorry. But sorry is not enough for the way the Canadian government treats Indigenous people. It's not enough. UN, the United Nations, calls Canada out all the time. Hey, Canada, where's all those missing Native Indigenous women? And why aren't you looking for them? Why are people on reservations in Winnipeg without running water, without plumbing? They're shitting in slop buckets. That's not okay. And just saying sorry isn't enough. Talk is cheap. I want to see action, Trudeau. Action. For best country in the world, I wrote no. Because Canada is not the best country in the world. We are second best. And I'm okay with that. But again, I look to my government and say, what is Switzerland doing for them that you're not doing for me? And when I wrote, are you free? Absolutely not. I don't think Canadian people are free until we're all free. Until we fix the crisis on our reservations and how we are treating Indigenous women up here. I'm not free until we're all free. Same to be said in America. You're not free until everyone is treated equally. Simple. Simple. Another little tidbit I might add. I was a little bit disappointed this weekend with the Super Tarts restock when Brandy made the scent handmade. And everyone was like, Hulu, Hulu, Hulu. Not one person. I was disappointed, Waxies. Not one person said, woo, Margaret Atwood. Margaret Atwood is a famous Canadian writer. She wrote Handmaid's Tale in the 80s. It was published in 1985. It's a book. It's a book that the Canadian government felt so strongly about that they made it mandatory reading in high schools across Canada. Hands up if you're Canadian and you had to read Handmaid's Tale in high school. Because the Canadian government wanted every man, every female, every woman to read that book and understand the consequence of what could happen when you use manipulation of power against women. And I'm not getting into whether or not I'm pro-life or pro-choice. All I'm saying is I don't think the timing of Hulu turning a book that's over 30 years old into a television series is a coincidence. If you take off the blinders, read the book. I prefer the book, but I'm a nerd. Like, if you have to just watch the TV show, fine. Take off the blinders. They have done a really good job at adapting the book into a television series, but take off the blinders. It is not far from the themes that you see happening right now with the United States government. And I'm not saying either pro-life or pro-choice. I'm not getting into that. That's not my place. But if I was an American, I would ask my government, what are we going to do with all of these unwanted babies? Okay, fine. The alt-right wants to crush abortion. Okay, whatever. But what are you going to do with unwanted children? Are you going to quadruple the spending for CPS down there? Because as long as you have the Andrea Yates, the Freezer Moms, the Christine Smiths, oh, what's that white bitch in Florida that killed her 2-year-old and left it in a bush and went out and partied? What's her name? And got off scot-free? As long as you have those kind of women, and I'm not saying that they're only in the United States, they're worldwide, but those were women who had planned pregnancies and offed their kids. If you think abortion is evil, you have not seen anything yet if you start forcing women to bear children. So, is the United States government going to quadruple the spending for child protective services? There's American children slipping through the cracks already, much like in Canada. We have that too, but are you going to quadruple the spending for child protective services because you're going to need it if you force women to have babies that they don't want? Are you going to adapt universal health care? That way poor people can have children? Poor people can be forced to have children? Are they going to get free maternity care, free pediatrics, and free health care moving forward? Because it's a common misconception that Canadian healthcare is free. It's not free. I pay 13% sales tax on everything I buy. I think the highest sales tax in the United States of America is like 7.5 in California right now. I pay 40% income tax. I pay property tax. I pay for my healthcare. It's not free. But I think as long as American women have no choice but to be forced to come to Canada, and I'm going to say it, as financial refugees, as medical refugees to give birth up here, and it happens on the daily. If they can't, and that is a sad state of affairs, if they can't afford to have birth and give birth in their own country, in their own city, next to their house, they have to travel that far and give birth. That's a problem. That's a big problem. So before you start forcing women to have babies, are we going to adapt universal health care? I was appalled when I read that in the United States of America, most, it didn't say all, most employers grant a pregnant woman 12 weeks of unpaid maternity. I was appalled. Canada is not number one for maternity and sick leaves. I think it's France. But here in Canada, we get 12 weeks paid. 12 weeks. You guys get 12 weeks. We get 12 months paid. It's not perfect. It's not as good as France. But is the American government going to adapt a better maternity leave? I'm not saying copy Canada because Canada is not perfect. But is the American government going to look to what other countries are doing and adapt to that? That way these moms know that they can have these unwanted babies and be able to afford it after they're born. Is the American government going to increase minimum wage? Because America is not number one for minimum wage. So anybody who's below the poverty line can have these babies, go back to work, and afford to be able to raise them? Again, not saying pro-life or pro-choice. I'm just saying, are they going to fix the education crisis? Education down there is not perfect. But are you going to make it better when you have a lot more kids coming into the education system? I just don't understand. Fine, whatever. If the alt-right wins and you crush Roe, what are you going to do with Wade? I think it's very, very important. And the American people should be asking their government that. And when Trump was elected, the day he was elected, this has never happened in the history of ever, the Canadian immigration site crashed when Trump was elected. It's not easy to immigrate to Canada. Trust me. Trust me, I was engaged to an American. He was sick. He had leukemia. I was engaged to an American. I was going to get married at the Death Museum right in LA. We were going to have our wedding reception up in the hills where the Manson Ranch was. We had it all planned. Unfortunately, he was killed in a tragic motorcycle accident before we could do it. But he had leukemia, and I was going to bring him to my country so he could have treatment. He was an artist. He made too much money for Medicaid. But as an artist, tattoo artist, as well as he built bikes for Ducati, he didn't have health insurance. He didn't have enough money to be able to afford to live in LA. Trust me, I'm not throwing shade on Americans. I'm not against Americans sneaking up here to get access to health care. Whether Canadian citizens are having to pay for it or not, I'm just saying I would ask my government these questions. I've also been red flagged by Canadian immigration. Canada Customs, because I have brought American tattoo artists here to make money. Don't trust me when I say I've got nothing against Americans coming to Canada, because I've had custom agents banging down my door at 3 o'clock in the morning for helping a Texan get here. Trust me, no shade. No shame. These are just all very, very important questions I would want to know, that I would ask my government. So to end this video and this social experiment, again, please do not edit your original comment. Just hit reply and tell me if after watching this video, you would change your original answers. If your original answers remain the same, tell me what country you're from. And what the hell does that girl say? I unsubscribed to her, so I can't remember now. At the end of every video, she says, remember, be good to one another. Because no one likes busted ass, ignorant, racist, disgusting fucking asshole. Thanks for watching, Waxies.